This program is brought to you by Connie Dodo of Connie Dodo Realty Group, 119 Pleasant Street, Methuen. When you want results, don't make a move without us.
Welcome to Dodo Real Estate View. Today we have Brian Connie here from Riser Engineering. Thank you, Brian, for coming.
Thank you, Connie. Thanks for having us.
I'm just going to give a little bit about his background. He's here joining on behalf of National Grid, Columbia Gas of Massachusetts. Brian joined Riser Engineering in 2011 as the Director of Residential Services there. He's responsible for managing all the home energy services, programs, in up to 4 units, buildings that Riser administrators is the administrator in Rhode Island, in Massachusetts, on behalf of all the utility programs that they sponsor.
Correct, yeah.
So Brian currently oversees 100 RISE employees across 3 offices.
That's right.
And over 70 homes performing contracts and independent installation of contractors. That's a lot to be doing. How do you keep shuffling all that? That's a lot.
There is quite a bit. On behalf of the Massachusetts Program Administrators, we do conduct assessments for a fair number of folks. Our counterparts at Clear Result and another group of individuals called home performance contractors kind of divide and conquer and try and conduct over 50,000 audits in Massachusetts a year. So collectively, we're out there in force on behalf of Mass Save. But depending on how you heat your home and who your program administrator or who your utility is, would determine who would come out and provide you with that assessment. So RISE is one, what's referred to as a lead vendor, a program provider of the energy assessments.
So it's kind of like the umbrella.
Correct. Everyone is out on behalf of Mass Save. Mm-hmm. And there are different pathways for customers to come in and try and take advantage of all the services. And we would do this on behalf of Columbia Gas or National Grid, Cape Light Compact, Liberty Utilities, and Unitil as well.
Now, if you had National Grid for your electric,
yes,
and Columbia Gas for your gas,
we would come out. Rise Engineering would come out. If you had oil heat for your home, mm-hmm. And you called into the Mass Save number, you enter in your zip code and how you heat your fuel type, our counterparts at Clear Result would schedule an assessment. But the great thing is that the offers are all pretty much universally the same. All the incentives are aligned depending on the fuel type. For oil equipment and gas equipment, there are incentives for both. And the assessment is relatively the same, and then the offer for insulation actually mirrors all of the utilities across the state.
It's a wonderful program. I know when I work with customers, I always tell the buyers and the sellers about it, and it's just fantastic. Maybe if you could just maybe go through the process of what an audit would look like,
Sure.
From somebody calling, as you said, then they'd figure out who would go out.
Okay, yep, that is the first step, and you're in a really unique position because participating in the program and taking advantage of insulation is a great thing to do if you're someone interested in selling your home. And then for new home buyers, oftentimes you don't have anything in your attic yet. You haven't mm-hmm. lived there for 30 or 40 years, and your attic is totally full and your basement is full, because if you do want to add insulation before that attic gets full, the recommendation would be to call and set up your energy assessment before you fill it with stuff.
Absolutely, because we see people in there that have been there for 20, 30 years and you can't even walk through it. So that's
absolutely.
Good
and if you are
point.
selling and you want to kind of motivate and declutter to clean up the place, having somebody come in to conduct the assessment and then complete the insulation work if it's recommended, the customer can cross that off the list, and it would add a little bit of value, I would think, to a potential home buyer.
Right.
Just to get started, you would call or send an email requesting an energy assessment.
And where would you send the email? Who would you send it
You
to?
would go to the Mass Save website,
Okay.
and then there's a portal to fill out an online request form.
What's the Mass Save website, just so people know?
Sure, it's
to call?
it's www.masssave.com.
Great.
I don't know if people still do the triple
Yeah,
W's.
I know it. Yeah, I know it. All the W's. Well, they'll get there, right? If they
Yeah,
don't.
exactly. I'm showing my age here.
Right.
But you would go to the website, or you'd call and get scheduled for an energy assessment. In a couple of weeks, depending, it is seasonal. You can imagine when it does get cold this time of year, many customers are more conscious. They're turning on their heating systems. They're getting some of their first bills. So we're quite popular this time of year. During the summer is another great time to call. Just the volume can be a little bit lighter, and you know, we're still out there. You know, 365 days a year, we're out there. So they would call in a couple weeks, depending on the time of year, come out and have the assessment. During the assessment, it's no cost. It's covered by your electric or your gas bill. So an energy auditor would come out. They would kind of sit down with you and ask you why you were interested in having the assessment in the first place. Are there cold spots? Is it a comfort issue? Do you want to save money? Is it your lighting? Something along those lines. They would go ahead and conduct you know, a walkthrough of your entire home. They're going to want to go in the attic. They're going to go in the basement. They will do a combustion safety test of your heating equipment to make sure that there isn't you know, a carbon monoxide concern or something like that. And then they'll go ahead and generate a proposal. Depending on how new or how old your home was built, if you know of a cold spot, or you know, a lot of attics can generally use a little bit more insulation than some of these older New England homes would currently have.
Right.
They'll test the walls as well to see if those are insulated. And then they'll come back and they'll generate a proposal. Right now, I think Mass Save has a pretty incredible offer. It's 75% off without a cap. So it's 75%
Wow.
off for however much insulation.
You're going to be kidding me.
No,
That's incredible.
It's really a very
Yikes.
incredible deal. It's a chance to get a lot of things done. If your walls have no insulation whatsoever, in years past it would be 75% up to $2,000. They've gone ahead and waived the cap, which really makes it an unlimited opportunity for how much you could save by being able to fully insulate your home. So in addition to that proposal, they do what's called installing instant savings measures, which are typically just light bulbs and some domestic hot water savings measures like a shower head or a faucet aerator. They would provide a no-cost programmable thermostat for you. If you had one of the old mercury dial style thermostats, they would provide a no-cost programmable thermostat, or you can get a deeply discounted Wi-Fi thermostat as well, which are becoming incredibly popular.
Like the Nest?
Yeah, exactly. That's one brand that we would install, part of Mass Save. They can typically purchase them at a discounted rate as well if you wanted to install one yourself. That's all part of the incentives that Mass Save would
that's
provide.
tremendous.
Yeah, it's there's an online store that's available to purchase those products directly with your account number, or you know, we would go ahead and provide one and install it as part of the audit itself. The light bulbs that they replace right now are all LEDs. We're no longer installing the old curly Q style light bulbs, the CFLs. So it is a 100% LED program, and they're only replacing the incandescent light bulbs, still the old style light bulbs, which use quite a bit of energy, and they would go out and replace any incandescent light bulb you had in your house. Which is another great advantage.
How about the heating systems and the windows?
Sure. Well, so for heating systems, the auditor is going to go ahead and take a look at the system itself, determine its age, how efficient it is, and make a recommendation for you to take advantage of rebates through Mass Save. They have traditionally had an early boiler and an early furnace replacement program that is coming to an end this year. But there are still great incentives for anyone looking to participate. There's typically for natural gas and oil systems. If you decide to choose a higher efficient model, there would be a correlating rebate for how efficient you got it. The rebates right now currently it's $1,600 for a combination heat and hot water system for a gas system. So In addition to getting the rebates themselves, by having the audit itself, you have access to what's called the heat loan. And the heat loan is another great advantage of participating in the Mass Save program. It gives you access to a 0% loan up to 7 years, depending on the value of it, and $25,000. So you can get a 0% loan to replace your oil or gas-fired heating system, which is another incredible offer, especially with the way interest rates are going right now. It's a chance to get something at 0%, which is pretty rare. And you mentioned windows. So amazingly, myself included, there are still people who have single pane windows. They've been not prevalent for years, but they work and hold up, and people like them, the looks of them aesthetically a lot of times for a historic home. But if you do find yourself needing to make the determination to want to replace those windows, they do have a loan for a single pane replacement. So you can't replace an old vinyl window that's might be a little run down, but if you had a single pane window, it's a 0% loan as well. It's $500 per window, which is the average cost of a standard kind of replacement window, and you can get a loan for those as well.
Oh, that's great.
So it's another advantage of having an energy audit.
Right. Now this is for single families, up to 4 family, plus commercial. I know I had them come to my office.
Yep.
And they did
there are programs, different types of financing for commercial. More often than not, they would offer some sort of on-bill repayment, things like that for a commercial customer. But for 1 to 4 family, and there's also opportunities for condo and townhome owners, and even large multifamily buildings. The offers do vary. It depends on if you can make a decision within your home, or if there's an association, whether or not you might have to have the themselves kind of direct. Right. Oftentimes, if all of the units, there's 4 different types of units in your condo complex, they would go ahead and see a sample of them currently, and then generate a proposal to everyone in that complex to to get the same discounts on insulation, to sign up and get light bulbs installed and things like that.
How about roofs?
Roofs. Currently, there is not anything available on the the market rate side for any type of incentives around roofs. It is something that you want to make sure is weather tight and not generating any kind of leaks inside of your home before we would go ahead and move forward. We wouldn't want the roof to be in pretty poor condition. So at this point in time, the way the program is set up, it has all this money and it's so many wonderful benefits. And what drives the programs is helping people save energy. So while a roof is very important, you want it to be properly ventilated. You likely want it to have a what's called a
ridge vent.
Yeah, ridge vent, exactly. It wouldn't be incentivized by the program administrators because it doesn't necessarily correlate to energy savings. So insulation is going to help you use less fuel, run your boiler, run your furnace less often, and that's going to help you save money. And the program administrators, the utilities, are able to benefit from that overall by not having to truck in liquefied natural gas or turn on more power plants or run more larger electric lines. Efficiency helps kind of balance the load. As more and more people move to the area, more businesses grow, the infrastructure remains relatively static. So the more people, they're going to get business sent, no matter what. So helping people maximize their energy use, helps kind of everyone, benefit from lower electric bills and lower cost overall.
Now, if you have propane gas.
Okay. The great part about Mass Save and having your electric provider, one of the sponsors of the electric providers, is that regardless of your fuel type, you would still be able to get all the benefits from being an electric customer. So National Grid would cover oil, propane, even if you just had a pellet stove. You could still get the advantage if you were a National Grid or an Eversource or a Unitil kind of electric customer.
And I know you're saying Eversource and Unitil, and that's typically New Hampshire.
Okay.
I mean, it's other places too, but.
Yep, there are programs up in New Hampshire. I know
Yeah,
New Hampshire Saves would be the website that you can use for that. Unitil also covers, if we've got any viewers in the Fitchburg, Lunenburg area as well. They have a small area that Unitil does cover down here. But predominantly in this area, it's going to be Columbia Gas, National Grid, and Eversource, but mostly in the National Grid territory as well.
Because we have we can't forget about New Hampshire. Because in our industry, we service both Mass and New Hampshire, so we just always kind of push people,
the program is a little different. There is, I believe there's a small upfront charge for the assessment, but they still do have incentives on heating systems and weatherization. So New Hampshire also has some energy saving programs as well.
How long does the audit typically take?
Depending on how large your home is, it does typically take about 2.5 hours. It should be pretty comprehensive. They want to go ahead and take a full account of the square footage of the home, the walls. They're going to look in the attic. They should be taking a walk around outside, looking at the ventilation, and then doing their role as sort of ambassadors of other aspects of the program, like your appliance usage. Is your refrigerator using a certain amount of energy? There's a program for early washer replacement. You can get a higher incentive for a washing machine replacement if it has one of those agitators in the inside. So the auditor should be asking permission to go ahead and make sure there's nothing in there. Take a peek and see if it has one of those center stacks. A lot of times most people have a front loader or some type of high efficiency system, but if you've got an old washing machine that has been running, it typically uses a little bit more water, and that hot water in particular, and by putting in a high efficient model, you end up saving gas or saving oil or electricity, and there's a higher incentive for that as well.
So they do that for all your utilities, like your refrigerator, dishwasher?
Well, no. So right now there is an incentive for the refrigerator. Going forward, there's going to be a program where you can still continue to recycle it. They'll actually pay you to come pick it up. And if you buy an Energy Star or a more high efficient model, and then the washing machine rebate. There isn't anything in particular for stoves. They do have rebates online at masssave.com for things like Energy Star dehumidifiers and other small appliances. But the auditors in particular are going to focus on the fridge and focus on the washing machine and go ahead and do the combustion safety test of your heating system.
You're right, dehumidifiers, those use a lot of electricity.
They do, and in our climate, in basements and kind of areas like that, controlling moisture is really an important aspect of your home's health. If you do have anywhere close to most basements, I think in New England can kind of benefit from running a dehumidifier, even just at a relatively high humidity setting, to just cut down on the inherent things that happen with moisture in basements and things like that.
I mean, it's really a program that everybody can benefit from. I mean, to get, like you said, whether it's single families, condos. Commercial.
Even income eligible. There's programs that run if you're on what's referred to as a discounted rate through your local CAP agency. They have programs where there's actually no cost at all to go ahead and participate. There's an incentive for triple-decker buildings as well. If you do all 3 units, for example, anything up to a 4-unit building, the incentive goes from 75 to 90% off.
Wow, that's for insulation?
Correct, yeah.
Wow.
So if you're a landlord, if you have a landlord situation where you live on the 1st floor or even the 3rd floor, they would want to kind of knock out the entire building at once, and there's higher incentives if you combine all the units.
How about for investors if you don't reside in the
Sure, a non-owner occupied, that you would end up having your tenant, because they pay the electric bill or they pay the gas bill. You'd want to I always encourage strong tenant-landlord relationships, but you would want to have the tenant call, and the landlord would actually sign off that they're going to go ahead and they'll pay the copay of that 10%. You know, and the tenants would, you know, allow access to those units. The auditor would go through the building and generate a proposal to do all of them.
Tremendous, and it's interesting. I mean, I know we've had you on in the past years, different people, obviously. I mean, you're great, but a lot of people don't know this program.
Yeah,
It's
it's been around for a really long time.
Right.
And it's kind of evolved. I think right now it's really heavily focused on pushing the insulation, pushing new technologies in wireless thermostats, mini splits and things like that. But you know, the program does advertise. They absolutely advertise. I hear Mass Save on the radio.
I see it on the TV too.
They run ads on television. So we do try.
Right.
But the overwhelming majority of the referrals and things that come in, it's 60% of the people who learn about Mass Save learn about it from a positive experience.
Right.
Friends tell friends, neighbors kind of catch on to what's happening, and there's absolutely a domino effect. So as much advertising as they try and do, you know, on the flip side, the more they spend on advertising, the less they can put towards the incentives and towards the program. So they want to balance it out where, you know, opportunities like you yourself, having us here is a great opportunity to promote the awareness. The fact that you mention it to all of your clients helps to kind of drive the program along. We genuinely want it to be a positive experience.
Absolutely, it has been. People it's tremendous. I know one customer of mine had, it was a two-family, they had the heating systems replaced, and it didn't cost them.
Really?
They converted it to gas.
Okay.
This was probably maybe 6 or 7 years ago.
Okay. Yeah. So sometimes there's some pretty incredible deals and things like that.
That was huge.
They've got great rebates, and you know, coupling that with the financing. You know, heating systems can run for a really long time, and they can be tried and true. But even if it's running at 80% or 85%, which is what a lot of equipment has run at for 20 and 30 years, now equipment is running at 95 and 96% efficiency.
Big difference.
So it's, you know, for every dollar that you would be spending on your heat, you'd be saving 10 cents on that dollar. If you upgrade, you know, 10% on your efficiency rating. So
by how many people? How much? With all the electricity you'd be saving.
Correct.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
You talked about splits. Are those the wall split units that you're referring to?
Yeah,
what
absolutely.
Are they?
Yeah. So there are rebates available for ductless mini splits or air source heat pumps, what they're called. And the technology for those has actually come a long way as well. They're now kind of referred to as cold climate heat pumps, where in our region they're capable of working in much lower temperatures. You still, depending on how efficient your home is, you still might need some degree of a backup from a heating perspective, but people find them great to both heat and cool. So if you wanted to eliminate, you know, window air conditioning and put something in the wall.
There'd be some incentive for that to do the heat and AC?
Correct, yep.
Wow,
there are going to be rebates
That's great.
available for that. Yeah.
That's wonderful, like you said, instead of wall ACs.
Correct.
That's,
yeah.
So we're kind of wrapping up now, so I don't know if there's anything that you'd like to add before our time runs out.
No, so it's 866-527-SAVE. Maybe we can put it up there.
Yeah.
That's the Mass Save hotline, and folks are welcome to call and schedule an energy assessment and have us come out.
Yeah, great. Thank you. It certainly
Thank you, Connie.
has given, you know, our audience some really food for thought with all the different things. I mean, I learned something about the AC and the split, so that's something I'll be passing on to customers in the future, because that's wonderful.
Sounds good.
So at the end of every show, we have a question that a caller has called in and asked, and it's typically, obviously, a real estate question. I had a customer or somebody called in, his name is Steve, and he had asked that they're going to be putting their house on the market, and his wife keeps telling him they have to get rid of stuff in the house, and he insisted that they don't have to not live in the house, but you know, he's concerned that he has to remove stuff from the property, and he doesn't feel like he has to. My response to Steve, and I said it to him, and I'll say it on the air here, is that, you know, you need to depersonalize your space, because you want people to come into your home to feel like it's their home and it's not, you know, something that's going to be somebody else's home. They want to be able to see them in the house. So Steve, you may have to get rid of some of the stuff that you have around your home. And again, if you need some assistance, you can certainly call our office. So next month we'll have other topics, and always call in to give us some suggestions on that. 978-683-0004. And remember, don't make a move without us. Dodo Real Estate View.
This program is brought to you by Connie Dodo of Connie Dodo Realty Group, 119 Pleasant Street, Methuen. When you want results, don't make a move without us.